Alright, all you graveyard shift racers out there tonight, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's stunts of the week, and yes, it's a three-way tie, folks, goes to none other than Green Mug with his stunt montage, then goes to Harsh P.5 with his stunt car fall, and finally goes to Vinewood on Fire presenting my parkour summer edition. And the reason why we picked these three stunts, well, first of all, anybody who's crazy enough to leap off the side of a highway road doing a 360 and still can power slide his way to victory, and what he did on that skate park, definite winner in my book. And on the second stunt, anybody who can do a gyroscope from that height and still land without getting discombobulated is a winner in my book as well. And for the final stunt, the reason why that got inducted in for the stunt of the week, well, anybody who's crazy enough to make their own course in their spare time to challenge you to do crazy stunts yourselves, all while jumping into a pool from 20 feet up, or well over 20 stories, is insane in our books. And speaking of insanity, folks, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines and check out what sort of crazy tracks you've got coming down the tubes for this week as we go into yet another edition of a GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from the creator Diamond Sky 660. Nice name, by the way, with his said track, The Atomic Roller Coaster. Granted, it's only called Atomic Roller Coaster, but I do believe it deserves a V in front of it. And this track not only reminds me of a Hot Wheels track gone right, but also comes with a whole bunch of crossovers just like a Hot Wheels track. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there who decide to take on this crazy real-life version of a Hot Wheels track is this. Not only to stay centered while you're going through that loop-de-loop, but also pick a car that is fast enough that can handle that loop-de-loop as well. Cause if you don't, let's just say you will fall upside down, explode on the racetrack, and it will cost you during this very race. So always remember while racing on this track, stay centered on the loops and make sure you pick the right car for the job. And the next track that we have up comes from the creators Rudy Do 420 with their said track, Grids Daytona 420. And according to the maestro, this would have been a perfect track to try to review somewhere around April 20th, and he was right. But unfortunately, since we didn't get it in the database until now, the reason why in the world we like this track, folks, is not only it gives you a chance to race with every car across the board, but it's also a very simple track that we'll have plenty of fun on. And the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there, besides the obvious of have fun while racing on this said track, is to make sure you pick your car depending on the weather conditions, because those hairpin turns or those traditional NASCAR turns that you have to take during that race will get extremely bad once the weather changes from sunny to stormy weather. Because I'll give you a small example. If you end up picking a sports car during this track while it's raining, you will skid off the road and it will cost you during this race. Only example we know of that's perfect to describe this said track. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator StoopCat_YT with their said track, $11X Sexy Like Flamingo. Interesting name for a very interesting track. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this said track is to definitely make sure you pick a car that is fast enough to handle these spiral walls that you have to climb up. And while riding on these said walls, also make sure you stay centered. And I would also say calm, because the second you lose your composure or get a case of the speed wobbles while on this said track, you will fall off and it will cost you during this race. But the only silver lining to that is, if you are able to actually make it on the highway road where the checkpoint is, if you don't mind a bit of walking, you can get back into this race and try to win. But it will take you a while. Just a warning. Just a warning. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator Cambo20 with his said track C20 Simplified Stun. And this definitely proves that sometimes things in life just needs to be simple and you'll be okay. In this case, it would be the form of a giant oversized loop that you would have to do during the said track that actually goes a little bit sideways while you try to do this said loop. And the only tip of advice I have for you fans out there for this loop is, like always, make sure you get a car that is fast enough to handle it, and alongside with it, stay centered in this said loop, because if you go too far right or left or lose control when you get to the top like I did, you will be doing more flips than a pancake in IHOP, and most likely land on your wheels or land on your back, and it will cost you during this very race. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from the creator Warlord Wedgie Woo with his said track Wedge Aztec Architect. And this track, oh wait, according to the maestro, it's Wedge Aztec Architect GP, which is Grand Prix for short, but nevertheless, back to what I was saying, this track is another one of those fun tracks from Warlord Wedgie Woo that turns a simple race into a magnificent race that somehow makes me feel like I'm in ancient Egypt. Now, unfortunately, there is no, pharaohs, no makeshift temples or anything along those lines, but the track that is laced in gold is good enough for me. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there is not only to watch out for those hairpin turns during the said track, but also make sure you're able to pick a car that can handle this track as well. And also, there are a couple of platforms you can jump up the side of, and if you're tempted to do so, make sure you remember where the checkpoint is before you start doing any crazy extreme stunts during this said track. Not deterring any of you stunners out there, but just letting you know, make sure you remember where the checkpoints are. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out all of these tracks that we mentioned for this week, plus some other goodies we've added into the mix in one giant playlist for this week, you can go ahead and check it out on the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and just click right directly on the playlist entitled Zero Gravity to check out a couple of these tracks for yourself. And if you're rocking with a full house, you can get a potential payout of well over $150,000 to almost $250,000. So good luck, race fans out there. And I guess with that said, for this week, folks, wraps it up for another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And I guess with that said, we might as well head back into the music, and when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned.